On May 6, 2021, the elections for a new London mayor will take place. After the last 5 years of disaster from the present mayor of London that has created worse air pollution in some areas, a rise in knife crime, while crime in general going through the roof, even making some streets no-go areas. And during a pandemic, where people were not allowed to be near each other, removing transport, which then forces people to be closer to each other on the buses and trains they could get. Every poor decision being blamed on his nerves, yet still wanting to run for mayor again. Let's look at just some of the people running for Lord Mayor in the coming elections. Sean Bailey is a British politician who has been a member of the London Assembly since 2016. A member of the Conservative Party. Born in North Kensington to a British Jamaican family, Bailey earned a degree in computer-aided engineering from London's South Bank University. In 2006, he co-founded the charity My Generation, which focused on assisting young people. However, it ceased operation amid financial problems in 2012. The Times reported that Bailey was at the center of allegations that it showed £16,000 worth of spending without any supporting records. Bailey served as David Cameron's special advisor on youth and crime from 2010 to 2013, admitting that at least 12 members of his peer group spent time in prison. Wants to make London a safer place and understands the knife crime. However, thinks homeless people could save up £5,000 for a deposit for a home. Personal opinion: while he seems like a nice guy that cares about crime, I'm not sure if he has a head for figures. He would be way out of his depth doing this job. Cam Valayev is running for Renew. He is a lawyer and politician. Worked in the Ministry for Justice in Baku and holds a PhD in law. One of the party's main positions is to advocate that the UK should be part of the European Union. Wants to help small business and promote the city to be clean, green and sustainable. One of his big ideas for London to get back on its feet is he wants big firms, such as those from Silicon Valley, that use our personal information for free and make money, is now for us to sell our personal information. Personal opinion: not a person that wants to protect out personal information, our sovereignty, our rules for running the country or our jobs, as he seems to want to give more jobs and pay more money to the EU than look after ourselves. A typical London elite that does not understand the working class. Sian Berry, the Green Party. Born and brought up in Cheltenham, she studied metallurgy and the science of materials. Upon graduating in 1997, she moved to London. Berry joined the Green Party aged 27 when working as a medical copywriter for large pharmaceutical companies, which she decided conflicted with her principles. She is working on getting better planning policies, scrutinizing and improving council development plans and reducing air pollution, and better facilities for bikes. As she has rented all her working life in London and experienced firsthand the frustration of bad landlords, broken plumbing and high rents, she also wants to look into those issues. Personal opinion: while you can only applaud her for her standing up for her principles early in her career, seems to just be looking at issues that have affected her and her middle-class friends, out of touch with real issues such as crime and schooling, and would be more at home living in the Cotswolds. Valerie Brown is a mother and grandmother. States that she is not a politician and does not want power but wants Londoners to have power, and for London to be the first city in the world to be run by its citizens. Valerie wants legally binding citizens' assemblies to replace the traditional mayoral role, says it's possible to reduce crime and put an end to poverty. We can respond to the dangers we face from climate change. We can learn from the very best, the best educators, best healthcare, best community organizations. But thinks fossil fuel is evil and that it's okay to vandalize and denigrate statues. The party launched in June 2020 with a shoplifting stunt in which members of the party walked out of a Sainsbury's supermarket branch in Camden Town, London, with shopping trolleys full of food without paying. Personal opinion: yet another uneducated socialist. Wants to stop crime but it's okay to shoplift and vandalize. Preaches education without knowing anything about the heritage of the country she lives in other than what the media feeds her. In theory it would be great for London to be ran by its people, if the people all wanted the same thing. In practice that won't work. For example, shopkeepers might want paying for the goods they stock, whereas a certain community seems to want to just take what they want. Some people hold a certain pride about the English culture while others don't. Piers Corbyn, Let London Live, a meteorologist that runs a long-range weather forecaster's website. Piers maintains that the common-sense notion that the sun is the main force governing the climate on Earth is scientifically accurate and that CO2 levels are mainly determined by changes in temperature. has fought against the privatization and demolition of council housing across London for decades. He organized protests against the dictatorial powers imposed on the public in the name of coronavirus. That wearing masks in public can only have a negative health impact, and isolation and loneliness undermines the natural human immune system. Personal opinion: while I can't fault his views on some things, he is still a socialist. Anyone that uses the fist sign, stay clear of. Understands common sense of the virus and weather, but would not be great when it came down to normal everyday things like schooling, crime or the police. Dr. Peter Gammons, UKIP, describes himself as a motivational speaker, broadcaster and author who has spoken at world conferences and events. Wants to use the 2 million miles of unused tunnels, streets, and chambers beneath London that are abandoned into walkways and safe cycle lanes, to create the world's first underground pod transport system that will speed up the city and clear congestion. As a parent and grandparent, is fighting for affordable housing in London, which is a priority. That too many luxury homes are being built. Also believes in defending, not defunding the police to combat London's knife crime epidemic. Wants to stop Khan's war on motorists. Supporting London's taxi drivers and will launch a full review into reopening roads. Personal opinion: I thought UKIP was dead and buried once Nigel Farage and Gerard Batten had left. But I will admit this guy is covering all the topics that seem to affect Londoners and the normal people. However, I'm not sure how much I trust motivational speakers. They are normally just snake oil salesmen. Richard Hewison, Rejoin EU, runs a company that offers training courses in the financial sector. Thinks Brexit is broken and wants to rejoin the EU. Wants the freedom of movement to live, study, perform and retire abroad. Wants high environmental and food standards assured. Is a long-time campaigner for LGBTQ+ rights. Personal opinion: looks like he's looking after his own wants. Thinks Brexit is broken, even though we've issued vaccines a lot better than anywhere else in Europe. Wants the freedom of movement to live, study, perform and retire abroad, which you can do that anywhere you want in the world. People have been moving and living in non-EU countries for years, so it's no different. I'm guessing he just doesn't want any hassle when he retires to Spain or Amsterdam. Wants open borders for terrorists to enter the UK without any problem. Wants high environmental and food standards assured, so I'm guessing he eats out a lot. Is a longtime campaigner for LGBTQ+ rights, although I couldn't find a picture of a wife, so I'm not too sure on how she feels. Vanessa Hudson, Animal Welfare Party, a freelance producer, director, and executive producer. Wants a push for carbon net zero status for London by 2025. Improve health, save NHS funds, protect the planet and help to prevent future pandemics by promoting plant-based diets. Incentivize public transport use and improve air quality. Better protect London's 9 million plus animals. And wants to prioritize the creation of sustainable and affordable homes. Personal opinion: another posh girl that's out of touch with the normal working classes, that believes everything she reads in The Guardian. Another person that thinks the world will end in a fiery ball in 10 years' time. If she thinks that plant-based diets will protect us against future pandemics, I think she'd better start having a word with China, not the UK. I notice nothing about crime or jobs. Steve Kelleher, SDP, father of 5, aims for 50,000 new council houses to be built in the capital every year by 2024. In addition, priority access to council housing will be given to those who were born, raised or currently live in a borough. Backing the police by increasing numbers in community foot patrols to both drastically cut crime rates and to start to restore public confidence. Also free public transport for young people to help young Londoners better face the cost of living crisis and build their savings, to all under 25s. Personal opinion: seems to care about crime and housing, although I bet all of his kids are all under 25 and will save a packet in traveling. But he seems down to earth. The SDP did not like Brexit though, and I don't know his thoughts about bringing jobs to London. Farah London, independent. A visionary entrepreneur, with over 22 years of corporate and entrepreneurial experience, she continues to drive successful initiatives across 5 continents and global trade. Founder and CEO of an award-winning global government business forum. Farah devotes herself to the community by being an active volunteer for several social justice programs and charity organizations over the past 20 years. Her community work has driven change and transformed people's lives. Among the causes she has been involved in are caring for the homeless, supporting those with mental health problems, and helping young people to avoid the lure of gangs through mentoring. She also served as the director of the Event Committee for Women in Insurance, a non-profit organization empowering professional women in insurance in the United Arab Emirates. She also sat on the board of the British Chamber of Commerce in Turkey as a senior advisor. Person opinion, she has a lot of fingers in a lot of pies and seems to do a lot of good in the community. Wants to reform council tax, supports the police, will reopen the police stations Khan has closed, and supports black cabs. Her heart seems to be in the right place and a caring person. For me, definitely a candidate to consider. The only worry I have is the social justice part, as that normally means she does not care about straight white men. Nimzo Bunge MBE, Independent. Nims is Senior Pastor of Freedom's Ark and CEO of the Peace Alliance. Believes a collaborative effort in the city is the only way we can see our city prosper. Nims has committed the last 30 years of his life to building bridges across London's diverse communities and fighting the problem of knife and gun crime across London. He initiated the London Week of Peace and London Leadership and Peace Awards. Over the years, he has provided employment opportunities for those who have experienced the stigma of having custodial sentences and watched them make significant life changes. He speaks in prisons, challenging inmates to adopt alternative lifestyle choices. Personal opinion, another person that cares and does great work in the community. Although we've seen the number of knife crimes in London rise, I think his strength lies in troubled youths, gangs, gun and knife crime. Everything else might be a bit of a stretch for him. Luisa, Liberal Democrat, was an MEP from 2019 to 2020. She grew up in Camden. Earned a degree in history from Royal Holloway University of London in 2008 and went on to complete a master's degree in Paris. Before her political career, worked as a journalist, a consultant for strategic advisory firm Global Counsel, and a political researcher and advisor. In 2019, she was working as a communications director. Wants to convert empty offices into homes and reinvent London's high streets so that once again, they become thriving as the heart of our communities, which means no longer relying solely on retail. Will rewild London's roofs, will restore community policing by increasing the number of local ward officers, help coordinate and improve after-school activities for young people. By investing in young people and giving them support, we can tackle youth violence in London. Wants to change the culture at the Metropolitan Police. This includes only using stop and search when it is intelligence-led. Personal opinion, does not seem to want to bring jobs into London, just make more housing. Also wants more places to eat and drink after work. Because there's just not enough pubs, cafes and restaurants in London apart from the thousands on almost every street. Her history is all over the place, a degree in history, then a journalist, then a consultant, then a communications director. I think she would be more at home on The Apprentice than running for mayor. Monda Reid, Women's Equality Party. She says she needs to be mayor because London has never had a woman mayor, and that none of the mainstream parties have even selected a woman for the position of London mayor. And that social justice and inclusion are close to her heart as a result of her upbringing in Swaziland, where black children and white children could study together. And also attended a school in Devon as the only black pupil in her year group. London was the first place that ever truly felt like home with all its diversity and rich culture. Wants London to become the first gender-equal city in the world. Reid has been a vocal supporter of the Black Lives Matter movement. And had an abortion because it would get in the way of her career aspirations. Personal opinion, a typical BLM supporter, thinks that all Black lives matter, apart from her baby she had terminated at 33 because it would get in the way of her aspirations. Hasn't realized that London is gender equal, as is the rest of the UK. Thinks it was weird that she was the only black child in her year group, not the school, just her year, which she thinks is weird over 40 years ago in a predominantly white Christian country. Wants social justice and inclusion. Since when in this country have black people not been able to buy homes, not allowed into pubs or restaurants, use separate doors to enter buildings or have separate schools? So I'm not sure where the exclusion exists. I do know that BLM want more segregation. Brian Rose, Independent. From San Diego, California, United States. Host of London Real, a video talk show where he interviews fascinating people around the world. Wants to build 50,000 new homes by Christmas. Wants London to get going again with congestion charge and business rates holidays, and digitizing the police. Wants to change the tube by making it look like Heathrow Terminal 5 and run at a profit with better management and an infrastructure levy. Understands that Londoners care about jobs, transport, crime and housing. Personal opinion, Brian seems to understand the issues of London. However, if you look into his past, Several people including his previous business partner seem to think that he has used a lot of people to get where he wants to, so not sure if he really has London at his heart or if he is motivated by other selfish gains. Lawrence Fox, independent, actor, single father and anti-woke campaigner. Understands that he's not and never wanted to be a politician. But sick and tired of our present-day politicians being ineffective. Wants to use new training academies that will play a key role in helping Londoners get into good quality and well-paid jobs in the future. Wants to protect the beauty spots but build new houses on the scrubland to solve the housing crisis. And scrap the low-traffic neighborhoods introduced by Sadiq Khan. Will protect of statues and heritage of London. Personal opinion, I think we have a lot of out-of-touch people in this list, but I don't think Lawrence is one. I think he's stepped up because of the terrible jobs our present MPs are doing and feels as though he must protect our society and the quiet majority from the uneducated social justice warrior mobs. Has sacrificed a lot for this cause and seems to be a true man of the people. David Curtin, Heritage Party, holds a BSc and an M.Res in chemistry through his years of study, taught chemistry between 1995 and 2016 for schools in the UK, Botswana, Bosnia, Bermuda and the United States, part of the London Assembly and fights for traditional family values and a Brexit campaigner. Wants police to catch real criminals rather than harassing people for meeting friends or opinions on the internet. To remove pop-up cycle lanes and road blockages, and all restrictions on pubs, restaurants, offices, shops and businesses. To bring 3,000 more police officers for London, to end politically correct policing, increase targeted stop and search. Wants zero tolerance for knife crime and carrying weapons and deport foreign criminals. To prioritize real crime not thought crime, scrap evening and weekend congestion charging, no pay-as-you-go road pricing, celebrate British culture and achievements, defend statues and monuments from vandals and Marxists, build beautiful homes and workspaces, not ugly tower blocks, preserve our green belt. Supports our black cabs, scrap HS2 and complete Crossrail. Personal opinion, seems to tick every box. Knows what is wrong in London as he cares and listens to real Londoners while also having plans to fix all the issues. A family man with great values and has fought to fix these issues with his work in the London Assembly. Sadiq Khan, Labour, London's present mayor, wants to protect jobs, opposes austerity, wants to tackle crime despite government cuts. To make commuting more affordable, wants council homes, not luxury apartments. Campaigning for the introduction of rent controls. And says he stands up for Londoners' values. Personal opinion, has had years to tackle these issues and done nothing other than divide London. One of the biggest race baiters. Does not care about London or its heritage, hates the white, English Christian culture. We've seen him over the last few weeks run away from the public trying to talk to him, silencing David Curtin trying to ask about grooming gangs. Crime has risen and is yet to meet half of his housing target. Has blamed a lot of his failings on his mental issues. Embarrassed the UK when the President of America came to visit the UK. Has put a hold on stop and search and thinks his museum of slavery is more important than knife crime. Also spent a small fortune on EU fireworks at New Year rather than the flag of our own country. So looking at all of the candidates, for me there are only two real possibilities. We've tried the three main parties for our Prime Minister, local governments and mayors, and they have proved that they are out of touch with the real public. I think it's time to give an independent a chance. Someone that has the public's interests at heart, that cares about the people in London as a capital city. A capital of the UK, that is proud of its identity and its accomplishments, the people that it's produced in the history and what it's gave to the world. Sadly, London is woke central, which is why it has so many problems that it never had 10 or 20 years ago. All I can say is, London, it's up to you. The whole of the UK prays that you make the correct choice.